I hope you enjoyed our inappropriate theme music. Somebody said, what's with the inappropriate music? No idea what you mean. I like that wee tune because I made it myself. Today, me and the Gravehound are in Manchester. Well, technically we're in Salford, but if you know the difference, good for you. And we're having a wee sniff around Peel Green Cemetery. It's one of these late 1800s, early 1900s cemeteries that were inaugurated as the population of Manchester and Salford exploded, and it's quite an interesting place, so let's go for a wee look. I brought De Niro over to as yet unused bit of the graveyard first so he can do what he has to do so he doesn't embarrass himself on anybody's grave. Yeah, wouldn't be the first time. But over here in the furthest corner of the graveyard we've got a little war grave, and that is from 1915. Oh wow, I thought most of these would be after sort of the early 1900s, but nope. There is Driver Travis from the Army Service Corps, 3rd of January 1915. So we are in quite an old part of this cemetery. Behind it the stones are quite eroded and overgrown and largely forgotten. Let's see what sort of dates we've got here. 1905, 1906 with a greyhound for scale. That's quite a nice. I love the way these things weather. I think it just looks so cool. And I also think that these are possibly communal graves, because if you look on the one behind it that we can actually see, there's Annie Gildard, who died January 22nd, 1905, February the 1st, 1905, February the 5th, 1905, aged 13 months, 13th, 1905. So yeah, I think these are communal graves. This is for people that couldn't afford their own grave. They were buried by the town council, and they are memorialised on these really, really nice and historically quite interesting headstones. I've got no idea how new these get. We found these before at Gorton Cemetery, if you can check that out on another one of our videos, and they went up to fairly recently, into the 1980s. But here we've got William, who was October 1904, aged 72. And right under William, possibly literally, is Nancy Walkden, who died in 1904, aged 6 months. So it is really from one end of the age spectrum to the other. So down that end we've got the war grave and graves from the 1900s, and I'm trying to pan more slowly because again we do listen to people's feedback. I'm trying to pan more slowly and also talk more slowly, so let me know how it goes, because for somebody who talks as fast as I do, it does feel a bit unnatural, but I will do my best. 1905, 1904, 1902, 1901. We're heading back. This is obviously the very oldest part of this graveyard. I do really like these sort of communal plots. They are really nice. Once upon a time, they were called paupers' graves, as in paupers, people that couldn't afford to buy their own burial, which is a bit of a shame, but nice that they are memorialised in this way. The town would pay for this, and yeah, they have a name on a headstone. Yeah, my guess about the age of this place is about right, because these are the 1890s, and there's Harry Stafford, who died in 1896, aged 7 months, and then Lillian Burgess, who died in 1896, aged 9 months, and then 2 days later, Lorna Burgess and Lillian Burgess died within 2 days of each other. One was 9 months and one was 1 year and 7 months. And then going down there is Sarah Slater and Ellen Hesketh and Elizabeth Billing and blah blah blah, all from the 1890s. 1896, 1897 on that one there for Elizabeth and William and Eliza. Okay, 1895. I'm now going to take a wee walk down here and see how far back we can get. I'm guessing 1890s is probably going to be about as old as this place gets. That stone's quite neat, isn't it? It's really cool the way that it's sort of eroded in the middle, but you can still read Mary and then it's gone, who died, and then the dates have gone. I think that's an 1890 something. That would fit in with the ones round about. That's not much of a guess, as opposed to comparing the age of this to the age of the stones round about. Some of the people buried in these communal graves are still remembered, because some of them have got little fences and little memorials built round the stone. These little stones are quite cool. I'm guessing they have got no names on them, so these would just be, I don't know, I'm guessing. But there's grave 4030 that somebody is looking after. 4031, 4032. Yeah, I get the idea. There's one of those tiny little stones like number 4047 there. This is 404, that looks like an S to me. But they've got some names. It's David Keir Hardy and Sarah Hardy. So they are in a virtually unmarked grave, marked by that small stone. but they've got a more modern memorial boot on top. On the back wall, we're still going in chronological order. We're back to 1883, so obviously we're going to keep going down here till we get to as far back as we go, which might be about here, because the style of the gravestones has changed and are now private. So there's George, beloved husband of Louisa, who died 1909. Yeah, so that's the pauper's grave section, or the communal grave section up there. And down where I am, it's more private. I'll not do a fast pan like I usually do. Instead, I'll do a clever edit. There you are. Nobody got a headache from that, hopefully. Down this end, we've just walked along further down that row. It looks more modern, I'm guessing, from the shape of these. And I've not looked honest. I'm going to say 1930s, 1940s, because that was when this sort of style was very much in vogue. So let's see how close I am. Oh, look at that. 1934. And I promise you, I did not cheat. Over there is Edward Wood, who's got a nice white stone, and that is from 1936. So yeah, we are getting more up to date, which means from my interestingness point of view, we're heading in the wrong direction. But then again, if we play the Spot the Commonwealth War Graves game, how many can you see? Because I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from where I'm standing, and I know for a fact there are more. And I know that for a fact because I've actually done some IT work in the cemetery for the local authority. To fess up, I have spent quite a lot of time in this graveyard working and wandering about in my places for the past days, but it's much more interesting doing it with you guys along for the ride. But I will tell you one thing for nothing, this talking more slowly is harder than it looks. And I'm also probably picking up quite a lot of background noise from walking through these really nice crunchy autumn leaves, or if you're in America, fall leaves, but it's not fall, it's autumn. Today is election day in America. I wonder how that's going. It looks like you've had quite an interesting choice to make this year. And by interesting, I mean difficult and a bit scary. If you can hear noise in the background, it's actually the police helicopter that's buzzing about, probably wondering what I'm up to. Well, not really. They maybe just want to say hello to De Niro. Can you spot the cross of sacrifice over there? Kind of dominates the landscape. We're going to go for a look over there in a while, but first of all, we're going to go back to where we were and have a look at the war graves over here. Obviously, I quite like all graveyards, but this sort of municipal English approach, I think, is one of the ones that leaves the most impressive legacy. Because look at that row upon row of gravestones, looking a little bit like rather dodgy teeth, but yeah, quite impressive and a lovely place to visit and a great place to spend a wee bit of time. Now, I wonder if, see how Agnes's name is down the bottom there, I wonder if old Charles left enough space at the top so when he eventually shuffled off his mortal coil, he could have pride of place on the tombstone, and he's not here. Right, how many Commonwealth war graves do you think we can get in one take? Well, let's start off with Corporal Fleet of the Royal Air Force, and then we're going to go wandering down here past civilian gravestones. Look at the styles, they're all the same. Sort of those have all got round tops, and the odd one here's got like a pointy top. Anyway, I'm trying to do all this in one take just because I've done it before, and I always think the end result is actually quite good because you can hear me getting more and more out of breath. Thankfully, I don't have to waffle too much longer because here is our second Commonwealth War grave, and that is Gunner Lister from the Royal Artillery. Again, Second World War. Heading down this way, I can see another couple over this direction. There is Guardsman Hodgson of the Irish Guards. Again, these are all Second World War. Over there is, I've started too soon with that one and I'll not be able to say it because I'm getting out of breath. That is Private C.H. Garbett of the Royal Yorkshire from 1942 again. And then thankfully you'll be pleased to hear, oh no, I thought there was 2 left and I've just looked down there and seen another 2. The not talking quickly thing is not working because I'm getting out of breath. Okay, time to stop and start again. Who would have thought that you have to be fit to do graveyard explorations? Anyway, there's Corporal Winter of the Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers from 1945, and behind him is WO1 Sub-Commander, is that? E. Condren, Royal Army Ordnance Corps from 1944. Let's have a look at that. It doesn't say Commander, it says Sub-C-O-N-D-R. I don't know, I'll have to try and find out. And then there's 2 more that I can see in this area. This is Gunner Burchell of the 356th Indian, I guess, SL Battery. SL, no idea, something battery. Royal Artillery, lately of the Lancashire Fusiliers, and he's from 1943. And it says down there he was killed in action on June the 1st. And lastly for this wee bit, in beside the 1950s gravestones there is Private Morton of the Royal Army Medical Corps from 1943. And I promise you that is all the war graves for now. Not all that's going to be in this episode, just all for now. These municipal graveyards always have more than one burial chapel in them. In this case, I think there are two that I've seen. Guessing one would be Catholic and one would be Protestant. Other places have maybe 3 or 4 for the different denominations of the Christian church. And here there's also a Muslim section, but I don't think they have got any sort of building. Don't tell De Niro, there's a wee fat squirrel looking at me. Hello, Mr. Squirrel. There's a greyhound in the van that would very much like to be your friend. Although, to be fair, he probably wouldn't bother. So now we are heading towards the centre of the graveyard, the sort of heart of the graveyard. The cross of sacrifice is now over there because we've walked round the outside. Here we are in 1887, and that is Betty Rothwell with a very nice and very beautifully patinated stone, and William, whose name has fallen off. And then there's Elizabeth from 1906, and Silas. There's a name that you never see anymore. There's Silas again, son of Silas. Anyway, yeah, let's keep going down this way. There's some newer ones on the back, 2017, which is not of interest to us. So we're going to go down here. It looks like they've actually got a circle of old stones, and then that's 1950s, 1930s there, and then they've squeezed in a ring of newer stones in the middle, just to make the best possible use of the space, I imagine. And unusually for this graveyard, here's somebody who had a bit of money, because that is quite a big stone, and that is in memory of Mia, the husband of Anne Maria Richardson, who died in 1927, and also Annie Maria, the wife of the above, and Wally, who was their son, and he was for 10.5 years a choir boy at Eccles Parish Church. I've been to Eccles Parish Church. I didn't see a graveyard there. Maybe I wasn't looking in the right place. God sent his singer upon earth to teach the hearts of men, then drew him back to heaven again. And then Mia, their beloved son, who died in 1894, and he is interred also, at Eccles Parish Church. There must be a graveyard there. Eccles Parish Church is now pretty much in the middle of a sort of shopping precinct bit, so I'll have to go back for another look. And because it's what he would have wanted, let's go and have a look at this big column here with the draped urn on top. There's a Mason man who died in 1935, Masonic as in the symbols there. I'm guessing he was a Freemason. And then there's Alice from 1841, or 1896 she died. But we're going to go and have a look at the great big one, and I better stop gawping and start walking, because this place is amazing, and I've seen a lot more war graves, so I might not go and say hello to them all. This is Stephen Sharples, who died 1929, and Amelia, his wife, and they're all from Eccles as well. And look, there's it's not a war grave, but there's Stephen, who fell in action at the Battle of the Somme in 1916 with his duty nobly done. And behind them there's a really nice sort of Art Deco type stone. I do like the ones like this. They're very imposing and always very well made. In loving memory of William Reed, who died 1928. That is a nice stone. And because we're back in the 1920s and 30s, I'm guessing these might all be Second World War as well. That is 1944 for Sapper Warrington. Yeah, so this is all a bit newer than the stuff over there. We've only seen one First World War war grave. We'll have to see if there are any more. And this is Sergeant Fisher, who was a pilot in the Royal Air Force. And they've got a big plaque on the bottom for the rest of the family. You do see that sometimes. Actually, not as often as you might think. War graves are usually left like on their own without any extra bits and pieces, but that's quite nice. Let's wander along this way, not just because I can see another 4 war graves, because I'll end up getting out of breath again. And you won't believe how long it took me to get my breath back after trying to do all that other stuff in one take. Now here's a piece of conjecture for you. You see a lot of graves for wireless operator / air gunner. Now I'm wondering if that was somebody who was worked the radio sometimes and then was the tail gunner in the aircraft, because a lot of aircraft returned obviously getting attacked from behind. The tail gunner was the worst place to be, so the aircraft would get back and land safely, not realising that the poor man in the back had been shot. It is really nice the way the Commonwealth war graves are dotted about, because again here we've obviously got Private Walker, And then we've got Mr. Thompson. I can't actually see his rank from here. That's rude. Let's go and see what he is. Oh, Volunteer W. Thompson from the Lancashire Home Guard. Ah, right. So he was a local man, and yeah, there's a few war graves dotted about. One over here I'm going to go and look at because it'll be quite interesting for our Canadian friends. How do I know it's Canadian? Well, you can see as well as I can. Oh wow, I just said that stuff over there about the air gunners being the tail gunners, and I've just found out, this is unbelievable, just found out that is not actually correct, because this guy, Warrant Officer Dean, was a tail gunner, and the reason I know he's a tail gunner and a Canadian, well, Canadian's obvious, but look there. That is the crew of number 76 Squadron in front of their bomber. That is so cool. And it says there that Dixie Dean was a rear gunner. So the wireless operated air gunner was George Dunn. Right, we're now going to head through the sort of field of tombstones towards the Cross of Sacrifice. I do like this, and it's one of the things I've learned since I started doing this channel, because the broken column, I was never sure if it was once a complete column and it's broken sort of after the grave was put up, but no, that apparently symbolises a life cut short. Over there's a seagull standing about like he owns the place. Oh, he's decided to fly away. I was going to go across and try and get some wildlife footage just to show you what a seagull looks like, in case you didn't know. So this is another comparatively older part of the graveyard. We're back in the early 1900s. It's such a nice place. These always are, especially when you get a bit of history and a bit of age, and yeah, love it. I've just got to control my excitement and stop speeding up with the talking, because I think a lot of people watch these videos and get about a minute in and say, I can't understand a word that guy is saying. So practice, practice, practice. And the best way to practice is to visit lots of cemeteries. I hope you don't mind.